Hey everyone, this is Mike the Biz, and we are talking about wrestling tonight, actually. So, hopefully, everyone's doing good today, Saturday, August the 24th, 2024. 8/24/24. We'll never see that date again, at least not in my lifetime. But I hope you guys are all doing okay. So tonight, again, the agenda is talking about AEW All In. I think I'm actually multi-streaming on the Deathlog podcast and the BTech channel. So if you guys are here from the BTech channel, smash the like button. If you guys haven't checked out my podcast channel for wrestling, then go ahead and check that out. I think we have about 40 subscribers on that page. I'll try to show you guys a little bit later. But anyways, decided to go live tonight since tomorrow is All In, and again, it's AEW's WrestleMania basically for the year. So let me know if you guys want to see me on camera. Should I turn the camera on? Let's see. Should I turn the camera on? It's kind of dark in here, that's why. Okay, there you go. There you go. I'm on the screen, kind of, not really. Yeah. There you go. Okay, it looks like we got a few people in the chat. So if you guys are joining in, smash that like button. Does my hair look messed up? Is that my hair, or is that the virtual background? Okay, I think it's the virtual background. So again, let me know if you guys can hear me okay. Let me know if you guys the stream quality is okay. Again, it looks like we got about 4 people in the house. So again, guys, again, let's chat, let's get things going. Again, I'm excited for All In tomorrow. The one thing that I'm kind of not excited about is the length. I'm usually like and enjoy AEW pay-per-views or PLAs. I guess they're pay-per-views because they're not on a streaming platform just yet. But okay, now it looks like I'm too. There you go. Looks like I'm too high, too low, too high. Let's see. Okay, we'll get a little more light in here. So again, hopefully you guys are doing all good tonight. Again, for the people watching on my tech channel, this is not really going to be tech related. So just disclaimer. Just like Tito, I know Tito likes to. I think Tito has a separate channel that he talks about wrestling on now. So, anyways, let's go ahead and see if it's working on my end. See if I get notified first of all. Clear all. There it is. The Deathlog podcast. There it is. Okay, I'm going to lower the volume here. I am watching on my little tablet just to kind of see what's going on. Okay, so far no chats. That's okay. I'm going to smash the like button myself on the Deathlock podcast page. Anyways, guys. Okay, so waiting to see if a few people come into the chat here so we can talk about some wrestling. But if not, that's okay. But again, I just finished watching Collision, guys. And if you guys don't know what AEW Collision is, it's basically their secondary show. It's kind of like, SmackDown to Monday Night Raw, right? So Collision is their secondary show. Technically, it's the third show, but the original secondary show, which is Rampage, nobody watches Rampage. I'm just going to say it, right? Rampage is just kind of like for people that like to watch Ring of Honor, basically. So again, I'm not trying to knock on Ring of Honor or anything like that, but it's basically just like the storylines that bleed from Ring of Honor, and they just kind of try to put it on TV. Maybe some secondary, storylines that go on. But anyways, it looks like we got Mark Smith in the house. Thanks again for joining in, Mr. Smith. Let me go ahead and let me see if I can send Tito a link actually, just to see if he wants to join in. I don't think he would be interested in talking about All In, but you never know, right? I'm gonna send maybe him and Mill Hustles a link here. See if he's not busy. I know Saturday usually is reserved for him and his family, but sometimes he is home. I'll even send a link to Mill Hustles, see if Mill Hustles wants to join in, just to see what's going on with him. It's probably at work, but I'll go ahead and send him a stream link anyway. I'm doing pretty good though, Mr. Mark. Again, we're here to talk about wrestling tonight. So again, we're talking about AEW All In. So let's go ahead and share the card there. I went ahead and sent Tito. All right, like and subscribe. Yes, Mark, if you're not subscribed to my second channel, the Deathlog podcast, please subscribe, because again, I'm trying to get to at least 100 subscribers on that channel. I know I don't post nearly enough on the Deathlog podcast, so I'm interested to see who's watching on which. I have 2 people watching on the Deathlog podcast, and I have 2 people watching on BTech Reviews. So that's not too bad. I know I'm one of those people watching on the Deathlog podcast. So again, guys, we are going to talk about AEW All In. This is non-WWE related, although if you want to mention WWE in the chat, and that's okay, but I'm going to go ahead and start going over it here. Mark says good enough, right? There you go. So let's go ahead and get into the card here really quick. Let's go ahead and share this. I'm actually going to put myself as the side screen here. So I am getting this information from Bleacher Report website. They are the ones that stream. So again, this is going to be the card for tomorrow, and then I'll kind of go over predictions and like what matches I am interested in, what matches I really don't care about. So if I don't respond right away to your chat, I do apologize. Let me see here. Hold on one second. Let me bring up the chat again. Actually, let me bring it up here. I don't know why it's not popping here. Here we go. There you go. Okay, so it might not be popping out here, but okay, it's because I'm not streaming on the right thing. That's why. Yeah, check if you're sub, Mark. If not, that would be a great additional sub. I know you subscribe to my other channels, like my my side hustle channel, and I think you subscribe to my car channel also. So, and I hope you subscribe to my shoe channel as well, because that's a new channel I'm doing as well. So anyways, guys, we are going to discuss All In. Again, you can see Brian Danielson, aka Daniel Bryan, or whatever you want to call him, here in the foreground here. Again, AEW's technically biggest show of the year, starting since last year. Before that, it was All Out. Which again, not to knock on AEW, right? They've been a company for a good 5 years, and All In, I think, is a good thing for them. Hopefully it continues to grow. The one thing I do like about All In is it's like, towards the end of July, early August, so it's kind of like still in the middle of summer, where people still might be on vacation, so they might be able to, go and enjoy the show, right? Rather than having the show like in April, like WWE does. But people still go to WrestleMania in April regardless, because it's like one of the biggest shows of the year. And the fact that WWE has a 2-night show now is pretty crazy. And they're going to start doing that for other big pay-per-views. So we're going to start seeing that for SummerSlam, maybe possibly Survivor Series. I'm hoping a Royal Rumble, because Royal Rumble, right? It'll lead into more storylines that will make sense at WrestleMania, rather than rushing things, because you'll have two nights to do the show. And then also, they can separate the men and women's Rumble from one night to the other, right? So, they can do the women's Rumble first and the men's Rumble second, or vice versa. I'm not trying to say that they should have the men's versus the women's, etc. like that. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and talk about the AEW All-In card. So again, that's going to be tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern, Sunday, August 25th. You can purchase the pay-per-view through, again, Bleacher Report or Thriller TV, I believe. And you can also, if the real ones know, you can find a free link somewhere. But anyways, before I get shut down over here, I don't want to get shut down. But excuse me, I do apologize about that. But anyways, okay, let's go ahead and talk about the card here. Let's see if I can monetize this on my main on my BTech channel. I don't want to get taken down, because YouTube is finding reasons to take my channel down for anything now. So hopefully this music is not copyrighted either. But let's go over the card here. So pre-show, they are going to have a pre-show, aka the buy-in, right, guys? So pre-show match is going to be Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway versus Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii. So this match, they kind of just threw it together like the last couple weeks, something that I'm not really interested in. Just because, again, let me see if I can find pictures of these people here. Tomohiro Ishii, Chris Statlander. There's nothing really there for either of them. But anyways, Chris Statlander is pretty much one of the main female wrestlers on their card, and she basically hasn't really done a lot this year. I think she was the TBS champion for a couple of seconds. She defeated Jade Cargill before she left, and then she really didn't have any type of personality or anything like that. So basically, they've been kind of trying to rebrand her. She was gone for a while, and then she was doing a little bit of a team with again, Willow Nightingale. So this storyline has actually progressed. It actually has been kind of long-term storytelling. Willow Nightingale is just one of those faces of the female division that a lot of people like. Personally, I don't really care for Willow as far as a wrestler goes, but she's not bad in the ring. She's got a good look. She's actually kind of a bigger girl when it comes to being in the ring. Chris Statlander is also a big girl, right? These are like girls that are like a lot bigger than the average Mercedes Monets or Sasha Banks, etc. So it is interesting to see that. But anyways, it's mostly just a match. This match is basically, it's going to be a tag match. And the winner of this tag match gets to choose the stipulation for the match between Willow and Chris at All Out. So really, that's why it's on the pre-show. Stokely Hathaway, who is a manager, is also being involved in the match. He was on Collision tonight, and he had his first wrestling match, I guess, tonight. He made the pin though, so he won. So that was interesting. Oh, 1 second there, guys. Okay. So again, not in any specific order, right? I can't tell you the actual order of the card is. Let's go ahead and move on to the main card now. And it looks like we actually do have some people watching. So again, shout out to anyone who is watching. I really appreciate that. Again, I don't really do these streams alone. I usually do these streams with like Tito or Mill Hustles, right? But again, I kind of just threw it together last second. Tito was streaming last night, and Tito, shout out to him. I wasn't able to make his stream. He did it for about an hour. I ended up having to run a last minute errand, so I wasn't able to join. But again, I did throw him the link. So if anything, I know he doesn't really watch AEW, but if he decides to join in, I'll go ahead and chit chat with him. So again, in not a specific order, let's go ahead and talk about the main card here, right? So we do have the AEW American Championship, MJF versus Will Ospreay, which in my opinion is probably the most interesting match. First of all, it'll probably be the longest match of the night, because again, that last match that they had that was an hour long for the International Championship, now the American Championship, was a good match, right? A lot of people said it was like maybe match of the year, right? I got to see bits and pieces of it, but I'm not a fan of like those hour-long matches unless there's a build-up to it. And in this case, there was not a build-up to that match. They just kind of had a match for the International Champion one day on a random Dynamite, and it lasted an hour, and people loved it. Some people didn't like it. So, hey, what's going on, Tech for Your Needs? Tech for Your Needs, small disclaimer. We are not talking about tech in this chat. We are talking about wrestling. So again, I'm actually multi-streaming on this channel and the Deathlock podcast channel. And we are talking about AEW's All In, which is tomorrow. So that again, it's a wrestling event. If you're, feel free to chime in. I know you're still familiar with a little bit of wrestling. So again, shout out to you. Thanks for joining in. And if you can, smash that like button. Again, MJF and Will Ospreay are probably the most over talents right now in AEW. Obviously both amazing wrestlers. Will Ospreay, technically, not in my opinion, but a lot of people say he is the number one wrestler in the world. And in some aspects, I can see that, but in some other aspects, I'm not a fan, and maybe I'll give my opinion at the end of this, right? But in any case, it's been an interesting feud going in, right? It's gotten personal. MJF makes everything personal. He's great on the mic, great in the ring. He's one of those guys. I feel like I didn't like him at first, and I'm still not that big of a fan of MJF, but he is a good heel. He knows how to make people angry, and he knows how to get under people's skin. So we'll see how the match goes. Like I said, it's going to be at least a 30-minute match. Turn off my camera for a second there, guys. Sorry, I ate some Mexican food, and it's not settling well with my stomach. But anyways, so yeah, it's gonna be a good match regardless. Let me turn the camera back on now. It's going to be a good match regardless. It most likely will be the show stealer of the night. Again, and that is going to be the AEW American Championship, MJF versus Will Ospreay. My prediction on this is MJF is going to retain, and I feel like there's going to be some interference in this match. So if you guys didn't hear, Ricochet, who was ex-WWE now, aka Prince Puma, former Lucha Underground, he is signed a contract with AEW, so that was announced this week. So I'm positive he's going to debut tomorrow afternoon. I'm sorry. Since the show is in England, the show is going to air at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central. So my prediction on that is MJF is going to retain. Will Ospreay loses due to interference. Ricochet comes in as a mega heel and either backs up MJF or something to that extent, right? And the cool thing about that is the reason why I think that that's going to happen is because one, Ricochet, he was always kind of a face in WWE, right? He never really got to be a bad guy or a heel. Towards the end of his run in WWE, he was having some awesome banger matches, obviously. He didn't really, he was getting a little more edgier towards the end. I don't know if anyone noticed that. He was kind of like, talking back to his opponents and kind of just like, letting them know like, hey, he's here for business and it's not, he's not here for bullshit anymore. Right. And then of course he didn't resign, and for obvious reasons, right? WWE, I just didn't want to, do anything with him. He, for the most part, I don't think he had a bad run in WWE. Like, he had a very good stint in NXT, right? He was the North American champion. In WWE, he was the Intercontinental champion. I think he was the United States champion also, like, one time. I don't think he was ever tag team champion, but to put him in a mid-card position is still very important because the guy was a talented guy. Anyways, the main reason why he's going to AEW though is because pretty much Will Ospreay wants to wrestle him, and I think he wants to have banger matches in AEW, right? Of course, I don't know where this is going to lead, but I think that's going to happen. I think there's going to be some sort of interference or, Ricochet gets involved, and maybe it's an accident, right? Maybe, he gets in the way or something happens where Will Ospreay just gets distracted just a little bit. And obviously you guys know MJF being the heel he is, he's going to take advantage of every little split second that he can where, somebody's back is turned or something's happening, and, he might bust out the diamond ring. He might bust out the brass knuckles, in any sense, and we'll see what happens. All right, let's go to the next match, guys. So the next match, which is probably going to be the first match of the night, is going to be the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal for the future AEW Championship match. So AEW does a lot of tournaments and battle royals for their company, obviously, because they have so much talent, right? That I feel like Tony Khan just doesn't know what to do with a lot of the talent. So again, he throws them into tournaments. He throws them into battle royals. So this one obviously is going to be a number one contenders match. So again, the All Out pay-per-view is probably less than a month away. So again, I don't know why AEW is having, like, last year All Out was literally the week after All In. So they really didn't have time to kind of, build stories for like the actual show. They just kind of threw matches together that were kind of like fallouts from All In, or stories that just didn't get a chance to be on the All In card, so they kind of push them to All Out. So again, the Casino Gauntlet Battle Royal, I don't even know who's in the match. It's going to be somebody random, obviously. Again, it could be Ricochet. So, Ricochet might debut. We might see more than one debuts tomorrow night, though. That's my prediction. So again, if Ricochet ends up in the Battle Royal and we end up seeing him versus Swerve, that would be interesting also, or whoever wins the world title for tomorrow night. We'll get into that. But again, I don't know who's in the match. They haven't really announced who's going to be in the match, etc., like that. So again, if you guys are still there, let me know. I don't know if Mark's still there, but if Tech for Needs, if you're still there, let me know also. The chat kind of died already. I don't think I'm going to make this stream too long, less than an hour, obviously, because it's already 9 o'clock and I want to lay down and relax. But anyways, next match would be for the TNT Championship. We got Jack Perry versus Darby Allin. I'm not really invested in the match just because I'm not really a fan of Jack Perry, not to hate on him, but I really wasn't a fan of what happened, last year All In when, him and CM Punk got into it, and he kind of went into business for himself. A lot of people, he calls himself the scapegoat, etc., like that. But the fact is, he did kind of go into business for himself, and the fact that he's friends with the Young Bucks, who are EVPs of the company, doesn't help, right? Because that shows favoritism. And who knows, if it's just a work or whatever, then it is what it is, right? But for the most part, like, you can tell that still a lot of people don't like Jack Perry, and I don't know why TK decided not to fire him. He was suspended for a while after the incident. He did eventually come back. Obviously, he's headlining this year as a champion, which again, we know that his friends stuck the title on him, even though he's probably not really deserving to be the TNT champion right now. But it's whatever. Darby Allin, obviously, also, after his stint with Sting, he got hurt. He broke his foot, and I don't know how he recovered so quickly from a broken foot, I guess, but he's back, and he's been kind of feuding with just random people, but mainly recently the Elite and Jack Perry, thus putting him in the match. It is a coffin match, so we'll see what happens. We know we're going to see a lot of stupid stunts. I just hope that neither of them get hurt, right? Because that's not something that I would like to see on television. Right? I like to see good matches, but if it's a coffin match, there's going to be stupid falls. There's going to be stupid, little things that happen throughout the match. And yes, these guys are young. I feel like Darby Allin is more slated to not get injured in these matches because he is like a real life daredevil, right? But Jack Perry isn't used to matches like this. Yes, we saw him, in that last, whatever last pay-per-view that they had where they had like a, that backstage brawl and all this crap was happening. They had the Elite. Forget what the hell the match was called, but anyways, they've had a lot of hardcore matches going into this, and obviously Jack Perry and Darby Allin, they're technically what you would consider pillars in the company still. So again, I say that Jack Perry retains. I don't know how he retains, but there's going to be some sort of interference where he retains. A lot of people are going to be pissed off about that, but we'll see. Okay. Next match is going to be for the FTW Championship, which I don't even know why this title is being defended on here. And that is going to be Hook versus Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho being the current FTW champion. And for whatever reason, I don't know why they put this match on this card. I think that they should have put this on All Out, honestly. But anyway, sorry about that, guys. I'm like having to blow my nose and whatnot in between little pieces here. But anyways, again, Chris Jericho, who obviously has done it all in the business, right? He's been in the business, like 30 plus years already. I've been following his career since WCW, ECW, early WWE, obviously up until his last WWE run. The guy's a character. He knows how to get over. He's had several characters, right, in AEW, right, ever since leaving the WWE. He's been, the inner circle guy, the whatever the rainmaker or the pain maker. I don't even know what they call it anymore. The wizard, obviously, he's throwing around fire, throwing it in people's faces, and now he's just like some annoying guy that no one really likes. And I find it interesting because like he's already had 3 factions in the company since coming out, right? And he is the only one that is still being like on the main, basically on the main show since that has been going on. So like everyone that he's been associated with, like whether it be like the Inner Circle or the JAS, right, the Jericho Appreciation Society, right, none of those talents are never really got over. The only one that's really kind of still there that's wrestling is Sammy Guevara, right? Anna Jay, which again, she's not even on the main roster talent right now. I think she's probably doing Ring of Honor right now. But like none of the other guys, like Santino or whoever else was in the original Inner Circle, I don't even remember. But none of those guys are on the main show now. Nobody cares, right? They're all gone. Half of them left, AEW. Some of them are injured, probably. Sammy Guevara was suspended for a while, and it's just like, I don't know what's going on with him. I know he's probably the top paid male talent. Maybe not anymore now that Will Ospreay is there. I don't know how much Tony Khan dished out for Will Ospreay. But I know Chris Jericho is one of the top paid talents in AEW. And it's one of those deals where it's like, maybe, yes, you can still wrestle, right? Maybe you can still put on matches. And he's been on the show like every single week, guys. Like, I remember before he was not on all the time. Now he's literally on all the time. And it's just hella annoying. And now he's, associated as the Learning Tree. He's with Big Bill and, again, another wrestler. I forgot the other guy's name. He's like a cowboy. He was like a black cowboy, but anyways, it's one of those deals where they put him up with these guys, and he's still the main like person in those groups. Like he's not trying to build up the talent that they're with right there. So maybe he is, and to some extent, but it's like guys like Big Bill who like have been in the business for years already. Like Cassidy or Big Cass, whatever you want to call him, he's been in the business for like 10 plus years already. Whether it be like he was doing TNA. Ring of Honor stuff, obviously ex-WWE, but it's just like they're not doing anything with him. Chris Jericho is not mentoring him to the point where like, hey, this guy's getting like single runs and being pushed out there. So it's just kind of annoying. I don't know what's going on there, but again, I'm hoping Hook wins the match and gets his title back. But if Hook doesn't win, then he cannot he cannot go for that title, which is not even a real championship. It's just a fake championship. He is going to, he won't be able to fight for the title as long as Chris Jericho holds the championship. So, moving on to the next match, this is probably going to be one of the higher viewed matches of the night. The AEW TBS Championship match: Mercedes Moné versus Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And again, Dr. Britt Baker recently returned. She's probably hasn't even been back for more than a month, honestly. She kind of just came back recently. Mercedes Moné, obviously in her first match, won the TBS title. I don't even remember. I think she won it from Willow Nightingale. I don't even think she got a rematch. It's just been kind of like up and down with Mercedes and her matches and her promos, basically. But, Britt Baker came back and, she, I think she interrupted one of Mercedes' promos and, not to knock on Britt Baker. Like, I'm hoping the match is good. I don't think, it's going to be a very good match. Like, I think it's going to be a very sloppy match. Hey, we got Everything Tech in the house. What's going on? So Everything Tech, just a disclaimer, I am multi-streaming on this and another podcast channel that I have about wrestling. So there's going to be no tech talk tonight on this channel. So just a small disclaimer, and I apologize. I had to keep muting myself because I keep having to blow my nose. I ate some Mexican food and like the spicy food got to my nose, and it's kind of just like messing with my nose. But anyways, so yeah, we're talking about AEW's All In, and again, AEW All In is going to be tomorrow. If you guys are wrestling fans, feel free to chime in on the chat if you guys know what I'm talking about. If you guys want to talk about something WWE related, go ahead and put it in there. But again, I'm talking about All Elite Wrestling's All In pay-per-view tomorrow, which is like their WrestleMania. So again, Mercedes Moné, again, there hasn't been a lot of good stuff going on for her. She does have like an enforcer now. I forgot the girl's name. She's kind of like a Nia Jax, like, I guess, in a sense, or not Nia Jax, but she's kind of like a Jade Cargill version, I guess, like another version of Jade Cargill, like a big girl, musty girl. We'll see how that goes. I would assume Mercedes is going to retain the championship. If she loses, I would be surprised. Obviously, Britt Baker has been gone for almost a year. She had some issues with her health. She hasn't really gotten back into the wrestling picture for a couple of years now, ever since she lost the women's championship, right? She's had a lot of issues, right, with her health and just injury, etc., like that. So I'm interested to see, she's had like maybe one or two matches since being back, but I'm interested to see like where this goes, because Mercedes is a veteran, right? And, a lot of people think that she's like the best female talent in the world, but I disagree. I don't think Mercedes is as good as people say she is, right? I mean, she has a very good look, first of all. I think she's a beautiful woman. I think Mercedes, when she was in WWE, I don't think she overshadowed any of the other four horsewomen that were in there with her, a Charlotte Flair, a Becky Lynch, even a Bayley, right? I think, well, if she did overshadow anyone, it might have been Bayley, but even then, I think Bayley still had more accolades than her early on when it came to the accomplishments that she had. I think Bayley was the first of her to like win the championship, etc., like that. Obviously, Charlotte was like the first out of the four to kind of really like rise up and do it. But Mercedes obviously decided to leave WWE, take a chance on herself, and sign with AEW. Not that there wasn't talks of her going back to WWE, but obviously the number wasn't right. And again, there's so much talent in WWE now that it's like, if she ever does go back, like, what do they have for her, right? Because they have so much top talent now, and they're building new stars. It's like hard for I feel like it's hard for older talent to go back and then be recognized. You've seen it with talents, guys like Carlito, for instance. That's just an example, right? Who left WWE for 10 plus years. He was gone for a while. He came back with a lot of excitement, and then they really haven't done anything with him. So again, for Mercedes to maybe finish her contract in AEW and then go back to WWE, again, I just don't see it happening. But again, we'll see. Obviously money talks. But again, I'm going to go with Britt Baker probably winning the championship. That's my prediction. But most likely, I think Mercedes Moné is going to win, because she is a double champion right now, and she is going to, get that going. I think they're going to just keep the title on her. That's my opinion, though. So let's go to the next match here. All right, sorry again. I did have to mute myself. So, and damn, Saturday night, and we only got 2 people in the chat. So that tells you guys something, that no one is getting notifications to my stream. It's kind of sad, honestly. Let's go ahead and share this on X. I'm gonna go ahead and share this on X. Currently live. Let's see. I'm gonna share it on X. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Okay, we'll go ahead and just post. I'll hashtag all in for you guys, right? Just for the hell of it. Yeah, it looks like we only got 2 people watching, and the other person isn't even chatting. So whoever's lurking, say hi. Next match of the night, again, I thought it was going to be a longer card, by the way, but the card's kind of short. I feel like they are going to add in matches, like maybe 1 or 2 matches that we might not see here on the card. But anyways, this next match is a 4-way ladder match for the AEW Trios Championship, right? The Patriarchy, who are the champions right now, Christian Cage, Killswitch, and Nick Wayne versus the Bang Bang Gang, which is Juice Robinson, Austin Gunn, and Colton Gunn, versus the House of Black, a.k.a. Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, versus Pac and the Blackpool Combat Club. So apparently, from what I remember, Pac didn't even have a match, but I guess they threw in Pac with the BCC, which is interesting because Jon Moxley has been out for like a while. I think he had requested some sort of time off. There really hasn't been anything said about Jon Moxley and why he's gone. Apparently, I think he's still the New Japan heavyweight champion, so I don't exactly know what's going on with him, if he has any health issues or injuries. But the fact that Jon Moxley is not at All In this year is kind of interesting, because he's pretty much been like one of the main talents in AEW for the last couple of years. He had to take some time off due to his sobriety, but I'm thinking maybe he had a relapse, possibly. Or, again, maybe there's just stuff that they're not talking about, but he's been gone for quite a while. So he hasn't really had a match in a minute in AEW. So, but anyways, guys, let's see. So again, the Trios Championship is really kind of just going to be a waste of time, in my opinion. I think it'll probably be a good spot match, though. Like, we'll see what happens. There's going to be a lot of bumps and falls and nice, and a lot of man meat in there, right? You have Brody King in there. Anytime Brody King's in there, I'm a fan of Brody King. I'm a fan of Buddy Matthews and Malachi Black. I feel like Brody King and Malachi Black Brody King and Buddy Matthews actually overshadow Malachi Black in a lot of ways. It's interesting because Malachi Black is technically, I feel like he's supposed to be the leader of the House of Black, but anyways, I feel like, again, because they have all these factions in AEW, that they just had to kind of throw some sort of match together. And we have no clue where Jay White is. Jay White, who is technically is supposed to be the leader of the Bang Bang Gang, just hasn't been around. And the fact that he's not going to be there in All In this year, I think that's interesting. Maybe he interferes. Maybe he shows up, whatever. But I think that'll be interesting regardless. My prediction on this match is let's see. I think they're probably going to give the belts to Pac and the BCC, just because Pac, he wants to have that moment in Wembley, and TK is all about giving moments to his talent, right? Obviously, Pac is from the United Kingdom. So, again, I'm going to go with Pac and the BCC. Again, I don't know how they are even in the match together, because they had like a long-time rivalry with the BCC, him and Penta and Phoenix. So, again, going with them. Next match is going to be a 3-way tag match for the AEW Tag Team Championship. 1 second, guys. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, the AEW Tag Team Championship is kind of like, to me, like the one of the titles that is just not worth watching currently. The Young Bucks are currently the AEW Tag Team Champions right now, and they just are not getting the job done when it comes to making the tag division interesting. ever since they've been there, honestly. Like, it's funny because like ever since AEW started, they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna make tag team wrestling a priority, this and that, and it just really has not been that case. Maybe the first year or so, the first year I think it was a little decent, but after that, it was kind of, it just really hasn't been very worthy of watching, in my opinion. And I think that the tag division is kind of dead. So is the trios. I think both divisions are dead. Again, we have the Young Bucks defending the titles, Matthew and Nick Jackson versus the Acclaimed, Anthony Bowen and Max Caster. And then we also have FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler. So, even though I don't know exactly what type, it says 3-way tag team match. So again, it could be one of those tag matches where, there could only be 2 people in the ring. In my opinion, it should be a tornado tag match where all 6 men are in the ring and they're all just kind of gunning it, and it's whoever gets pinned first, right? That wins the championship. That, to me, that's going to be the best way. I hope it's not one of those regular tag matches where like you're still only allowed 2 people, and that you're allowed to tag an opposing team member as long as or your tag team partner. So it could be one or the other, right? But anyways, we'll see how that goes. Because it's a 3-way match, it's probably going to be anything goes. So that's probably what we're going to see. So again, there's going to be a lot of spots. There's going to be a lot of weapons in this match. My prediction is, I think probably, I think FTR and Cash Wheeler. I'm sorry, FTR, Dax and Cash win the match just because I feel like they want to continue the feud with the Young Bucks. So I feel like that's going to lead into another match at All Out. Possibly, they've been kind of still butting heads over the last year. So I think that's going to happen. That's going to be my prediction. Okay, so we have the last match, which is probably going to be, hopefully, I hope it's going to be the best match of the night, but we'll see. You have AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland versus Bryan Danielson, right? So again, Bryan Danielson, he's been kind of off the cusp of retiring for a second time, right? Because again, he was plagued with injury in his WWE run. I'm glad that he was able to come back to WWE and get cleared and, have one little run there before leaving and, deciding to leave and joining AEW. Obviously, he didn't renew his contract with WWE. He left on good terms, though. He's had quite the career in AEW. He has not won any championships matches. He's had matches. He's had title matches, but he's lost every single big match that he's been in, right? And he's had a lot of banger matches, right? If there's anyone that I could say, probably besides Kenny Omega and now MJF, right? The wrestlers that have had the best matches in AEW are Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega, and again, MJF. So anyway, sorry about that. I turned my camera off when I meant to mute myself again. But anyways, again, these parties here, again, Bryan Danielson, who joined a heel group, aka the BCC, which was technically kind of a heel group, but Bryan Danielson, even though he's a part of a heel group, he's kind of been still a face in its entirety, right? He's had a lot of banger matches, right? Him versus Kenny Omega, him versus, I think it was Adam Page also, right? Him versus MJF this year. Where they've just had where he's had Iron Man matches left and right. He's just had a lot of great matches versus guys like Okada. I think he wrestled Okada last year at All In, right? He ended up breaking his arm and he was out for a little bit. But he's been in a lot of high profile matches, right? And again, this match is going to be very interesting because Bryan Danielson said that if he loses, that he will permanently retire. So again, he did announce at the beginning of the year or early last year that 2024 was going to be his last full-time year as a full-time wrestler, right? So, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily retiring, from the business. That just means that we're not going to see him, wrestle as much, or maybe he will have some sort of backstage role. But Bryan Danielson is still going to wrestle, right? If he loses, he's never going to wrestle again. Maybe that's something that he decided for himself, that he wants to put himself in that position, right, and say goodbye to wrestling finally while he still can wrestle, because obviously the last time he had to retire, it wasn't on his own, on his own well-being. He didn't have the decision, the doctors made the decision for him, and there was that, right? I mean, I'm glad WWE kind of brought him back in like a GM role, and we got to see him to some capacity. And then, of course, he got to come back. And again, it's been enjoyable. I've been enjoying watching him wrestle in the matches that he's wrestled in. You know, he's been bleeding in his matches. He's been, 5-star matches. Can't complain, right? You know, Bryan Danielson never puts on a crappy match, right? He's one of those guys like, guys like Shawn Michaels, a guy like Kenny Omega, where you can wrestle him and the match is gonna not. It's always gonna be good. It's never gonna be a shitty match when Bryan Danielson is on the card. Anyways, I'm glad I got to see him wrestle back in February. I got to see him wrestle at one of my local shows at Collision. So if that's the last time I ever got to see him wrestle, I got to enjoy the match. It was an interesting match, and I had fun. So let's see. 1 second, guys. All right, guys. So, but yeah, my prediction is, first of all, it's going to be a banger match, right? I think it's going to be at least a 30-minute match. Knowing Tony Khan, he's going to make it an hour-long match just because that's what they do. So if the MJF match and the Will Ospreay match isn't an hour long, then I have a feeling that this match will be an hour long. Especially if it's an hour long, then I think Bryan Danielson is going to lose. Like straight up, I think he's going to lose. He's going to put over Swerve, which, rightfully so. If you're going to retire, you should be putting over talent, right? It was kind of the opposite when Sting retired back at Full Gear earlier this year, right? I think it was Full Gear, maybe one of those pay-per-view, or Revolution, one of those pay-per-views. But, Tony Khan wanted Sting to go out on top. He had a very storied career, and even though he was only a tag team champion, like it was a very solid match. He wanted him to go out on top as a winner, right? Normally, when you're retiring, you lose, you put over the talent that is going to take over the business. So we'll see. I feel like Bryan Danielson. I want him to win. A part of him wants me to win because it'll be 10 years since he won that WrestleMania 30 match. Back when the WWE Network first started, and we got to kind of see him fight the Authority, and he had to go through so many obstacles to get back in the title picture that year. It was kind of ridiculous. But basically, what happened, just to kind of backtrack, the story from that is, Batista won the Rumble that year. He came back. Batista kind of got booed, even though, a lot of people were still cheering for Batista because Bryan Danielson or Daniel Bryan was super over at the time. A lot of people were pissed off that he didn't win the Rumble that year. And again, like the fans were kind of taking over. They were, all of his matches and stuff that was leading up to WrestleMania was him just trying to, get back into the picture. Again, the Authority was against him the entire time, which again, back then that was Triple H, Stephanie McMahon, etc. like that. They were just trying to hold him back. So he had to go through a lot of stuff, right? He had to kind of go through a bunch of stuff just to get back into that title picture. And he went through several matches. I recall him having to, he had to face Batista and Randy Orton. So I believe Randy Orton was champion going into that WrestleMania. Batista was obviously involved in the match, and then Bryan Danielson, he had to win a bunch of matches to get just involved in that match. And he ended up winning the main event at that WrestleMania, which is WrestleMania 30, one of the biggest WrestleManias, or most enjoyable WrestleManias, main events to watch, in my opinion. It was kind of like something similar to Cody beating Roman Reigns, but I think Bryan Danielson, because he was like such a huge underdog, that was, I think it meant more for him rather than Cody. I don't know why. At least that was for me. Can't believe that's been 10 years already, guys. Man, I'm old. But anyways, again, it's, regardless whether Bryan Danielson wins or loses, I think it's going to be a good match. I think Swerve has, held the title down pretty well. He hasn't been the most exciting champion, but he's had some good matches. He's been a fighting champion, right? He's been defending the championship, ever since he won it, months back. And again, it's kind of sucks. I feel kind of bad for him also because he's not really even though he is the champion, he's not the most popular person on the card currently. So again, I'm just interested to see what happens. He is the heel in this match, right? He's been kind of throwing out those heel tendencies. So again, I'm just interested to see what happens and who he fights, etc. Who wins the match, right? It's gonna be a good match. Again, if the MJF match and the Will Ospreay match doesn't go an hour, then I see that this match is gonna go an hour. And we're going to have a bunch of false finishes. It's going to be ridiculous. But anyways, guys, that's what I think as far as what's going to happen at AEW All In this year. If you guys watch the repeat of this, go ahead and leave your predictions in the comment section down below. And again, I hope you guys have a good one. Again, sorry there was not a lot of people in the chat tonight, but again, this is my first time kind of trying to do one of these streams by myself. Okay, sorry about that. So again, I don't normally do these wrestling streams by myself. I usually have somebody like Tito or Mil Hustles come in. So something different, right? Maybe this is something I might want to start on the Deathlock podcast channel, just like on a weekly basis, just to cover like, wrestling stuff that maybe I thought was interesting for the week. I don't know. You guys let me know. Let me know if you guys want to see something like that. Again, I used to podcast for wrestling back in my college days, and I just kind of stopped, and me and Tito kind of revitalized it a little bit. But of course, he's got a pretty hectic schedule, and I don't like to bother him, with stuff to do it. But he's been a good bud. Him and Mil Hustles have been good buddies of mine, and when they have free time, they jump in and they talk about it. So again, guys, it looks like we have 6 people in the house, guys. What's going on? Come on, let's get some people in the chat here. Let me know your predictions for All In, guys. I already went over mine. So again, now we can just kind of chit chat for a little bit. If you guys want, we can go over WWE stuff. We have a WWE Clash at the Castle next week, which is going to be I hope it's going to be a good pay-per-view. Obviously, the first pay-per-view in Germany, or PLE in Germany, in a while. I think they had house shows there a while back, but the fact is that like we have someone from that side of the world going in as the world champion, Gunther, right? And we have CM Punk versus again Drew McIntyre again. We're gonna have a lot of banger matches next Saturday, so I might have to get on and do a prediction show for that. I don't know if Tito's gonna want to jump in on that one, but yeah, I'm gonna probably do another live stream next week. Dang, and now that I'm thinking about that, sheesh, do I work Saturday? I'm trying to think of my schedule. Do I work on Saturday? Ooh, I do. I think I get out right in time to watch the event. I get out in the morning at 12, so I think I will be okay. But regardless, right, I think the most storied match that's going to probably be happening right now for WWE is probably CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. And I'll talk a little bit about that, right? Again, CM Punk came back last year at Survivor Series, right? The original plan for WrestleMania was supposed to be him versus Seth Rollins, which I kind of find it interesting because at the time, Drew McIntyre, he had lost to Roman Reigns again last year in Scotland. He was doing everything he could to stay relevant, and yet somehow he ended up being the guy that was kind of troubling CM Punk this year, right? Obviously we had the WrestleMania match, Seth Rollins versus Drew McIntyre. The original plan was for CM Punk to win the match, and it was supposed to be him versus Rollins, but it didn't happen. Punk got hurt. He tore his tricep. He ended up having to get surgery, and it just didn't go down the way it was supposed to happen, which it would have been a big match, but the person that ended up taking over the spot was Drew McIntyre, right? And Drew McIntyre obviously has had a interesting character development change over the last year, right? He's gotten a lot more loose with his promos. He's gotten a lot more comfortable on the mic. He really has no, like, I guess, he really gives no fucks, if you know what I mean. He really doesn't care what's happening as far as that goes to that extent. What he says, what he does, who he pisses off now, which if you think about it, an unhinged Drew McIntyre is probably the most dangerous Drew McIntyre we've ever seen. And, he did win the championship this year at WrestleMania, but he lost it all because of CM Punk. And of course, CM Punk still being injured at WrestleMania was the commentary person at WrestleMania. He was just kind of like guest commentary. And after, Drew McIntyre wins the championship at WrestleMania, Punk decides to, I guess, get in McIntyre's face. He attacks him, he hits him with the arm brace, he knocks him out. And then what happens? Damian Priest comes and cashes in the Money in the Bank contract, which obviously leads to McIntyre losing at WrestleMania. So he won the title and then lost the title in like 5 minutes, which sucks, but also it has led to a good story so far, right? So, it led up to him and Punk having a match at the last pay-per-view, which Punk ended up losing that match, right? So Punk having his actual first like singles match on TV, at that last event, right? And obviously, which was SummerSlam. And it was a big match, right? A lot of people, that was like a lot. That was one of my favorite matches of the night. Punk ends up losing the match because Rollins was a guest official, but Rollins was not the reason why Punk lost that match. Rollins, even though he's still kind of involved in that little triangle of those three, he kind of called it down the middle. Yes, there was things that happened during the match, but nothing really happened to the extent where Punk. I think what happened was Punk let things get into his head, and he ended up losing the match because basically when the old saying is like this person screwed themselves. Well, Punk screwed himself, right? He got in over his head when it came to letting his feelings get to himself and not paying attention to the match, and he ended up losing the match. And yet these guys are still fighting. I think they're going to do a bull rope match actually at Clash in the Castle, which is going to be interesting, right? I think each fighter has to touch the corner. It's going to be like a more hardcore style match this time around. But I think it's going to be interesting. And again, guys, again, this is probably going to be one of the only WWE matches I'm going to talk about. Just because I don't have a full card in front of me, so I don't really want to look it up either because I'm kind of tired already. But anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. So again, if you guys like the stream and if you guys want to hear more WWE stuff, especially on the Deathlock channel, I might start doing more solo stuff. I know sometimes Tito and I were able to collab and get together. Same thing with Mill Hustles, but tonight just wasn't it. I just kind of decided to throw on the stream by myself and see if they were busy or not. So hopefully they're doing okay. I know Mill Hustles is hustling like 10 jobs right now. And Tito also, might be, out there working, doing something or hanging out with his family. So again, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close out here. So again, I'm going to close out the way I used to close out my podcast with my old buddies, quoting Scott Hall, saying hard work pays off, dreams come true, bad times don't last, but bad guys do. Thanks again for watching and listening to the podcast tonight, guys. I really appreciate it. If you guys can share